On the 11th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me Spumoni cookies. Well, it occurred to us in editing that we had a little faux pas. My microphone came unplugged as I was giving you the ingredients, so let's give those to you again. 2½ cups of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 3/4 cups butter softened to room temperature, 1 cup sugar, a half a cup of brown sugar packed, 1 large egg room temperature, 1 large egg yolk room temperature, half a teaspoon vanilla extract. For your cherry dough, you will want 1/4 cup maraschino cherries patted dry and finely chopped. For your pistachio dough, 1/2 cup ground pistachios, a half a teaspoon of almond extract, and 2 drops of green food color gel. And for your chocolate dough, you will need 2 tablespoons cocoa powder, 2 teaspoons cherry juice, and a 1/3 cup mini chocolate chips. All right, the first thing you're going to want to do is whisk together your flour, your baking powder, and your baking soda. And then we're just going to set that aside for a minute. Next, in your large mixing bowl, either a stand mixer or with a hand mixer, I recommend it, take your butter and both sugars, and you're going to want to cream those together until they're light and fluffy. Growl, it says. I'm going to grab a spatula. Now what we're going to add to this mixture is our egg yolk, and vanilla, and beat this on medium-high until it's all combined. So we got an egg yolk. And normally I crack my eggs off camera. We got an egg. Yay! And we have our half teaspoon of vanilla. Medium-high. All right, you remember those dry ingredients we put aside earlier? Now it's time to incorporate those into your wet ingredients. So just dump them and mix them on low. All right, it says this dough is thick. Well, I currently have a crumbly mess going on. I don't know what they mean by thick. All right, I separated my dough off camera. I have 3 11-ounce balls of dough that I am going to add different things to, starting with our cherries to our first batch of dough. And we're just going to mix that on medium until they're combined. You can add food coloring, a tiny drop of pink if you'd like, but I'm going to see how these turn out on their own. Okay, our cherry dough is in the fridge chilling. We are now going to make our pistachio dough. To our next dough ball, we're going to add 1 tiny drop of green food coloring. Gel is what I use. If you use drop jet liquid, you'll need more. 1/4 teaspoon of almond and our ground pistachios. I'm going to take my hand mixer and mix that on medium until it's well combined. That's not really as green as I'd like it, so why don't we add just a tiny dab more? I don't want it to be too artificial, but we want it to stand out from the other dough. I'm going to leave it alone because I got dough bits flying everywhere and I don't want to make a mess. So we're going to set this one aside and get to dough ball number 3, which I'll break up this time. And to this one, we're going to add our cocoa powder, our cherry juice. Let's mix that up first. All right. Now, we're not done yet. We've got them all mixed. Now it's time to make these into tiny little balls that will be refrigerated for 1 hour. Big shout out to my husband for his set of extra hands. All the dough is ready to go. Now here is your next step. You take a cherry and you take a pistachio and you mush it together. And then you take a chocolate and you mush that as the trifecta. And then you kind of meld them together a little bit. Roll them in your hands a little bit there. Get the seams a little bit seamless. Now you take this little lovely dough ball and you're going to roll it through some granulated sugar. And then we're going to set our dough ball off to the side on our parchment lined baking sheet. Then we're going to do that again with another cherry and another pistachio and another chocolate. And then into the sugar and onto the baking sheet. And you're going to want to keep these about 3 inches apart and only put about 8 or 9 of them on the tray so that they'll have room to spread. And we just keep doing that until all of our dough balls are made into cookies. I totally forgot something, to put them in the oven with you. However, they are in the oven at 350 degrees and we're going to bake them for 15 minutes.
No.
All right, there goes our oven timer. That means our Spumoni cookies are ready to come out of the oven. All right, there we go. We're going to let these cool on the tray for 5 minutes, and then we'll transfer them to the wire rack to cool completely. Okay, everybody, our Spumoni cookies are done, and it's time to get to the best part. Once again, this is Bakes by Vasco, and I'm Michelle with 1L. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time. That's a chocolate and pistachio bite, and the chocolate's all melty, and the pistachio could be a little nuttier, but I gotta just say goodbye.